Good morning, everyone. It's Ella from Ella Web Design, and welcome back to my podcast From Zero to 25K for women who want to have a better work-life balance and who want to start and grow a profitable business working part-time from home. And today we have a very special guest, Jen Corcoran. She's a LinkedIn trainer for female coaches. Hi, Jen, how are you?
Hi, Ella. Thanks so much for having me on. It's nice to speak to somebody in Ireland because I am from Ireland, but I'm not there now.
My pleasure. And today, because Jen is a LinkedIn trainer, so today we are talking about how to get qualified leads using LinkedIn. Jen, before we jump into the subject, can you introduce yourself properly?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a LinkedIn consultant and trainer, and I mainly help female entrepreneurs and in particular introverts, empaths, and highly sensitive people. So I help them to attract more and better leads on LinkedIn. And I've learned over the years that I'm an introvert, I'm an empath, and I'm a highly sensitive person. So my approach is all about conserving your energy and making LinkedIn work with you for you in 30 minutes a day or less. And yeah, for me, it's all about conserving your energy and working smartly and, not wasting hours scrolling on the home feed.
Brilliant. And tell me how your whole journey has started with LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's very much like an accident that, I'm an accidental business.
Usually, to be honest, it's by accident.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the best things happen by accident. So I started using it when I was an employee in corporate. I was a personal assistant based in London. And I remember hearing about it for a few years, but ignoring it because I'm an introvert. And I was like, oh, social media, what's that? LinkedIn, what's that? Do I have to be on there? And then eventually I went to a talk on the topic. It was actually some recruiters were speaking about it. And at the end of the talk, I was like, wow, I need to get on this platform. I need to have a good profile. I wasn't looking for a new job, but I knew that I could lean into it and it could really help me to do my job better. So I got my profile done, got on there and started connecting with peers around the world. So PAs, everywhere.
Mhm.
My colleagues in different countries, suppliers that we had in the business, clients, just anyone who interested me, trainers, anyone I found interesting, I started reaching out and connecting with them. And I was just super excited to build my network with like minds and people that I admired and respected. And it just really helped me to do my job better. So, for example, if I was booking a conference in Berlin for my team and there was some kind of a trade show on and all the hotel rooms were booked out, I'd reach out to like um my PA peer over in Berlin and say, hey, can you get me in somewhere? And they would, and I would do it for them when they came to London. So it just really helped me to, get restaurants booked at the drop of a hat or hotel bookings and to negotiate discounts with suppliers. And on a personal level, I found it really useful if I was ever going to networking events or conferences because as an introvert, it's not my natural forte to throw myself into big rooms. You're
Yeah.
probably the same, Ella. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
there being by myself.
I like to be behind my computer.
Exactly. And then as a PA, I was the same. I was helping other people in the spotlight and I was happy to hide in the background. That was my comfort zone. So
Yeah.
when I discovered like you could use LinkedIn alongside networking, I got so excited because if I was ever going to an event and there was an attendee list, I would find everyone in advance and connect with them. So when I went in the room, I was always recognized. Somebody would always come over to me and I didn't have that awkward, icky feeling going in.
Yeah.
And it just made networking really easy for me. And likewise, if I couldn't get the names in advance, I'd connect with everyone after. And it was just a way to continue the conversation. And it got to a point really when I was connecting with so many suppliers. I was picking all my favorite hotels, all my favorite restaurants in London that I could walk in anywhere and like the manager of the Savoy would recognize me from my LinkedIn profile headshot. So it was super
Amazing.
powerful. Yeah, super,
Yeah.
look, really excited about using it, used it for years in corporate and then fell out of love with my job.
Uh-huh.
And I ended up having back surgery and being on my back really for about a month after the operation and thinking it was a bit of a midlife crisis. What am I doing with my
Yeah.
life? I was 14. I was like, where am I going? I'm good at this job, but it doesn't give me joy, you know. And then I realized, you know, you like social media, you like LinkedIn, because at that point in time, I had studied a lot as a hobby. So I had studied like LinkedIn for business, Facebook for business, Twitter,
Yeah.
Instagram, Pinterest, websites, SEO. I just kind of fallen in love with the online world, and I was using it all in a voluntary role, but not in my paid role. So I kind of thought, you know what, I really love what I'm doing in the voluntary. Why can't I do that as a business? And I think of all the platforms, LinkedIn was always the one that I loved the most. It was the one where I felt the most comfortable. So, and it's the one I think that people have the biggest blocks about. They overthink it. And I know it's the one I can help them to make the biggest transformation. So, yeah, very much a journey. I'm an accidental business owner. I never planned to set up in business. It's just my back went and I had time to think. And then I thought, well, let's try this. And you know, I wasn't 100% sure at the start. None of us are. And
No, nobody's, yeah.
yeah, 6 years later, I'm still doing it.
Okay, so it's 6 years already.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell me, what was the biggest struggle in your business?
I think mindset. I think that first year, it was about shifting from an employee to an entrepreneur mindset. And I was still kind of like, not, I think just not confident enough in myself and my value, and was not able to step up to kind of meet people at the same level. So I really had to work on my confidence, and I think I had to dig deep as well into my values, like what did I stand for? Because I felt a bit like a sham business for the first year. And I was getting clients and everything. I was a social media manager then. Now I'm a consultant and a trainer. So I was getting clients and I was, you know, busy. But it wasn't, I realized after a year, I didn't actually want to do the management side. I wanted to actually teach people. So I think it was just leaning into that mindset and confidence. I would say mindset's been the biggest thing over the 6 years, having to constantly work on it. And I think in business, you hear a lot of hype about productivity, all the things you need to do. But if you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to achieve them.
Yeah.
And I think I started kind of coming to mindset quite late. Like I would say the last 3 years, I'm all about it. But the first 3 years of my business, I didn't even really consider it. And it is so important.
Yeah. I think at the beginning you just focus on strategies, you know, on different tactics, what I should do, and you know, you focus what I should do more.
Yeah.
Instead of looking after your mindset. And tell me, how did you overcome it? Have you worked with any coaches or you have overcome it yourself?
Everything. So coaches, I've had hypnosis. So I've had like RTT hypnosis, which is rapid.
And how did you find it? Do you find it?
I find it really interesting. So the one I tried is RTT, so rapid transformation therapy. So even in one session, you can get a result. And I'm someone who likes to do things quick. So I didn't have to sign up for like, you know, 6 months.
Sessions,
yeah. So honestly, I had one session about my money block, and it kind of, it just revealed to me why I had those blocks. And then what I got from the hypnotist was an audio, and you have to listen to it for 21 days, kind of reprogram your brain. So anytime if I feel myself wavering, I'll listen to that audio. It's only 20 minutes long. And it really, it's like anything. It's like, you know, going on a diet, going to the gym. You have to be consistent to get those results. But I find it really useful. And like you say, having coaches along the way, being in different programs, whether it was one-to-one or group programs. I think for the first few years, I tried to do everything myself. And I'm good at a lot of things, but then you realize you just can't do everything. You have to outsource, and you have to seek the help of a professional if you want to go faster and level up. So yeah, I think going into programs, whether they were one-to-one or a group, really helped me just be surrounded by like minds as well, and have that momentum, because I'm somebody who needs that momentum. And I think for a long time in my business, I was felt like embarrassed, like, why can't I do it all by myself? And I've realized I need a coach. So the way I will help people, I have somebody helping me. And if I don't have like that consistent kind of coaching or consulting, my momentum will dip. And it's like, I'm not alone. And I think I was a bit embarrassed by that. Like, why can't I just be like a go-getter? Like,
Yeah.
you know, the typical entrepreneurs you say, but it's like, you know, a lot of us need that support and
Yeah.
it's a good thing. I think the best people in the world have coaches and
Yeah,
consultants.
yeah. No, to be honest, you need a support because you cannot like talk to your husband all the time or to your
Yeah,
business friend, because they have enough and they don't know nothing, they don't know the business stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Tell me what lesson you have learned that you would like to share with listeners. What lesson you have learned in the first years of your business?
Ooh. It's actually probably related to first year, I would say. It is actually related to website. So I would say hold off on getting your website up for a few months until you have really tested your business out and you are super clear on your niche and your services, because I made so many amendments to my website in the first year, and it's because I was testing things out. So I wished I had put up like a holding page, talk to someone like you first, got the domain, put it up and said coming soon, and then operated, because I actually got clients off my LinkedIn profile initially. So I wish I'd done that and kind of fine-tuned, because I wasted my time and my website design. Well, they were happy. They got paid for all the amendments, but I think it would have been a better flowing website. So I would say that was one of my biggest regrets, thinking I needed to have everything ready for launch. And it would have been a far better website. And yeah, I kind of felt like a failure every time I was going back and tweaking it, because I was kind of like, oh, I've tested this and I don't want to do this anymore. And this is not for me. So I would say, yeah, really do that deep dive in your business from the start, and really connect to what lights you up, because at the start I was doing everything online. So I was doing LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and it was only really when I looked deep within, I was like, actually, deep down, LinkedIn is the only one you really love.
Yeah.
So I would say stick to your passions, and less is more, because I know when I kind of went all in on what I love and ditched the other services, I was a lot happier. I was a lot more happy to promote myself, promote my website. So yeah, I think doing that research and I was fixated on my website for the whole first year. It was like website, and I know it's super important, but it's like LinkedIn, they're part of the overall marketing mix.
Yeah.
So
It's just a piece of the puzzle.
exactly. I think people think it's everything. They all work together. So I think not put so much focus on one thing, and yeah, just kind of do my research more and explore my values more. I kind of got to it at the start of year 2. So I was like a year later doing it, kind of going, who am I?
To be honest, I think it's normal. Like, it's I don't know many people who know straight away what they want to do and what really lights them up. So you have to be messy. You have to try different things to figure out what suits you the best. Because sometimes you can think that it will be good for you or that you would like to do it, and only when you start to do it, you find out, oh no, it's not the one thing that I want to do.
Exactly. I love it. I love that you said messy, and I think you feel like a bit of a failure if it is a bit messy. It's all part of the journey, isn't it? And
we'll
talk about failing, but there's no real failure. If you're trying, it's all part of the success. And I think I had a real block about that, because we're not taught to fail in school or college or university, or when you're an employee, you don't want to fail, but you really have to learn to fail and embrace failure as a business owner, and just do it again and again and again and again. So that has been a massive learning curve.
And I think you have to be prepared when you're starting your own business, especially if previously you were an employee. So when you're starting your own business, you have to be prepared that it will take time.
Yeah.
It's not that, your business will be profitable straight away. Like after 3 months, you will be, earning your 5K or 10K. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Promise.
And I totally agree. And I think a lot of people think that because there's a lot of hype. And I think it can happen if you are, say, becoming a consultant in something you've already done. So just say I was in PR for 20 years and I'm going to go as a freelance PR consultant. Yeah, you'll have that network. You'll have the people you worked with, and you probably could match your salary or higher. But if you're trying something completely new, which I was, it takes time. And you have to build that know, like, and trust. But I think, yeah, there's a lot of hype of, you know, reaching six figures, you know,
Yeah.
right away. And it doesn't happen for everyone, you know, and just being patient with yourself. And I think
Yeah.
it happens quicker when you lean into your joy. And I remember somebody give me advice when I first started saying, "Oh, do you love it? Do you really love what you do?" And at the point, I liked it because I was doing a bit of everything, but I
Mhm.
didn't love it. And it was
Mhm.
only when I honed in on what I loved did my business become more successful.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. Okay, let's talk about your website. You're a linking specialist, but you also have a website. So tell me, when have you got your website? And you have done it yourself, or you have hired somebody to do it?
I hired somebody to do it. So it's a WordPress website and I've had it about 6 years really since I
Mhm.
launched. I had one guy design it and it did look nice from the outside, but when I initially started, there was no talk of the back end of my website. So there was no like, you know, metadata,
Mhm.
alt text. There was
Yeah,
no kind of SEO. That was never discussed with me. The guy basically just mocked it, put it up, and was quite expensive. And I was naive. I didn't even know about the back end. It's a bit like the back
yeah,
end of LinkedIn profile. A lot of people
yeah,
don't go in there.
yeah,
So a year or two later, I was like, oh, I need to do all of this. And he couldn't do that. And over time, I've actually transitioned to another lady who helps with everything. So she's
Mhm.
also a graphic designer. So she helps with the front end
Mhm.
and the back end, but it's been quite the journey. And yeah, I remember feeling quite angry and frustrated that he hadn't
Yeah,
told me anything about the back end. And I was like, oh, that's where the magic happens. It's not just about the way it looks. People aren't going to
exactly.
find it if it doesn't have the right keywords in it. That is actually really important.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say do your research and find somebody good like Ella to help you do it.
Thank you.
Because that was my mistake, just picking someone and kind of they showcase websites they'd done and I was like, oh, they look nice, but you know, I should have done more due diligence really.
Yeah, so it's about the website. It's not that it looks nice. It should also work for you. It should also
Yeah,
convert, and have all these backends, as you were saying. Now, tell me right now, how do you use your website? Does it help you in any way, make your business easier and better, or not? Or it just, it's
I
there?
think most people with what I do, they still need to get on the phone with me. So
Mhm.
it works mainly for booking sales calls on the contact tab. Um, I think for lower price products, you know, when I had lower price courses, I
Mhm.
did sell a lot of them from the website. But
Mhm.
as I've changed my model, I'm more into consultancy. It's a bigger cost and consideration for people, so they want to talk it through. So I
Mhm.
would say mainly that it just kind of works as an online diary,
Right.
really. But you know, when I'm working with corporate, I know they really appreciate the website and they fully check it out. Whereas when I'm working with, you know, individual clients like coaches and consultants, they prefer to hop on a call. Um, but yeah, it's always given me confidence having one and just kind of going as an introvert as well. There you go, check this out. This is me. And then if you're interested, come back to me. So I think I would have felt a lot less confident if I didn't have one. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you don't need one. And I'm like, well, as a professional, I felt I needed one and I wouldn't buy from anyone selling a service if they didn't have a website. It just wouldn't give me that confidence. It would just make me feel like, oh, they've not invested in themselves. So why should I invest in that? So um yeah, it's given me confidence, but at the moment it's like an online diary. I'm sure it could do a lot more for me.
Yeah, it can. You can have your online shop there. You can have, yeah, you can schedule your appointments, or people can even, pick the dates and so on. Anyway, I think it's also having a website, as you were saying, it gives you a lot of confidence. And also when you are networking in person, for example, there's no time, to say about your services. So it's much more easier to say you can go to my website and check all the services, all my offers and all my pricing. So you don't have this awkward conversation about pricing and so on. You can go and check on the website.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's easier.
And
Okay.
I think a lot of people like to just read things and process as
Yeah,
well. You know,
yeah,
they want to just do it in their own time.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's talk right now about LinkedIn.
Sure.
So Jen, tell us how we can use LinkedIn to get qualified leads. Because we all know website is working when you have leads coming to your website.
Yeah, I think because quite often now when people Google you, your LinkedIn profile could show up over your website. So putting in as much effort and time into your profile as your website, because a lot of business owners, they do spend that time on their website and they've got good copy, good branding, keywords in there, and then you look at their profile and you're like, where is all of this stuff? So making sure it's on brand and it looks similar to your website, it's got similar information, so it's filled out properly, it's fully optimized, you're not missing out sections, and you're doing your research and you know what your keywords are, so what you're called and what people are searching for, and that you're tailoring your profile and your content to your audience. So for your profile, I know a lot of business owners, they still show up in employee mode and they're not really showcasing what's in it for the person looking at their profile. So you kind of have to position your profile like a sales page, like a website, so to speak. And then I think just being intentional about who you connect with, asking yourself, who is your ideal client, or who could you collaborate with? Like us today on this podcast, get an opportunity to reach another audience of your ideal client, because a lot of people worry about people reaching out to them and they're quite passive and they're like, should I accept, should I ignore? And I'm like, that's not the right question. The right question is, who do you want to connect to it? Because you have the opportunity to shape your network how you want. So it's about being really intentional with that outreach, who you're connecting with. Interesting people, ideal clients, partners, suppliers, just really building a quality network, and then learning how to use it in a way that suits your personality, your energy, your goals, your time, your diary, because there's no one size fits all. So with my clients, I just help them figure out, some of them only want to do content on the home feed. They want all of their leads to be inbound, and they hate DMs. And then others hate showing up on the home feed and they like DMs, or they're happy to do it behind the scenes, or some do both. So it's about figuring out what's going to work for you and then tracking it, just making sure you've got some detail, kind of a CRM or a tracker. Otherwise, it's just all noise and you forget the conversations you've had. And there's 930 million people on LinkedIn now, so you can lose stuff if you don't track it. And if you're like me, you're not trying to target everyone, unless you're selling a product, then you are. But if you're working as a service provider, you don't have the capacity time-wise to work with people. So you really have to make sure you're nurturing the right people and not wasting your time and energy on the wrong people.
But would you, for example, connect with your ideal clients, or maybe with people who you can collaborate with?
Oh, both. Yeah, absolutely. Because your ideal clients might take a little bit longer, but if you talk to somebody who has an audience like you with your podcast, then you get to reach so much more people. So yeah, I'm always like collaborating to reach my ideal clients through other people's audiences. So I think both. And just not being afraid to lean in and ask for introductions as well. If you know people who are connected to your ideal client, just realizing that LinkedIn's so much more than your first degree connections. Usually everybody you want is in your second degree. So not being afraid to reach out and ask for that introduction, and also give introductions, because if you get into the habit of regularly introducing people in the back end, it will come back to you. People will be like, oh, thank you, Ella, for recommending me. And then if I hear of somebody who needs Squarespace designer, I'm like, chat to Ella. So I'm all about relationship marketing, and that happens behind the scenes, and that's like really powerful.
Recently you have posted a very interesting article about that you don't have to post a content on your home feed to the leads. I find it very refreshing, because we all think you have to produce the content, which you don't have time to do.
I don't think you do, because I really think your profile is the ultimate content. And if you're reaching out and connecting with the right people and having conversations behind the scenes, I don't think you need it, because I know the first 5 years I used LinkedIn, I didn't post any content, and I had a good profile. I connected with the people I wanted to, and I really built opportunities for myself. I won the title of the most networked PA in London just from connecting with people in the DMs. I won lots of awards. I got promoted at work, increased salary, and I never posted any content. The content was the DMs and my profile. So I think everybody's different, and what there's a lot of hype about it's all content, but you have to think who's telling you that, and they're usually content influencers. They're usually people that their specialty. So we will all say, I will say LinkedIn's amazing, you say Squarespace website is amazing. We will all say that. So you always have to think of, are they the right fit for you? So I don't think there is a one size fits all. But if you're not going to do content on the home feed, you need to have a good profile, and you need to be able to chat to people properly in the DMs. Ideally I do both, so I don't rely on one over the other. The thing about the DMs is that you're in control. You can send the message, everybody will get it. They may not respond, but they will get it. Whereas with the content on the home feed, with the algorithm, you're not in control. So you don't know how many people are going to see that post.
And to be honest, it's like all the other social media. You're posting something, and 2 seconds later it's down the feed.
Yeah, exactly.
So you really don't know how many people will see it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work to come up with new content all the time. It just takes so much time. And tell me, what is your opinion about DMing people? You were saying you are using yourself DMs, but when you should start DMing, is it okay to DM people who just connected with you or just accepted your connection request?
I think so. I mean, I'm a big fan of warm outreach. I don't really like cold outreach, so I try to find something in common. Then that way it doesn't feel spammy, So it's about thinking, how can you get these people warm? And I understand sometimes it will be cold. You will be reaching out to people you don't know, but think, what is that common thing? Like, how did you find them? So, for example, maybe you're a female entrepreneur and you belong to a networking group, a networking association, and you're like, okay, I'm going to reach out to all these ladies on LinkedIn, but you have the network in common. So it's not super cold. So it's like, hi, Mary, we both belong to XYZ network. I'd love to connect with you here on LinkedIn. So my approach would always be about finding out those touch points, like what are you doing in your business? So do you go networking? Do you do speaking gigs? So obviously if you do speaking gigs like lives or webinars or talks, all of those people are warm. If they've come to hear you speak, they're interested in what you have to say. So, or it could be if you have an email list on your website and people have downloaded your lead magnet, and they you can connect with them on LinkedIn because they already know you. So it's about figuring out, how can we do this warm? So I try and exhaust all the warm outreach first before you go to cold, and then if it's cold, it's about making people feel special. And of course you can DM straight away, but you can't sell straight away. So it's about building that relationship. So it's about listening for cues, some people you will connect to it and they will say, hey, Yala, thanks for connecting. I think I need a new website. And you're like, bingo. They need me straight away because they're ready. But other people may not be there yet. So there's no point in saying, let's hop on a call. Here's my link, because that really turns people off. It's just about connecting as a human being and having a chat and seeing where it goes. And if it goes cold, that's fine. You just focus on the people who are engaging with you, and you never know when somebody's going to start the conversation again. So, it's just about, an easy thing is always like referencing something in their profile. If you're reaching out, you read something interesting, reference that, or look at their content and say, like you just said, that post I think was yesterday. So I'm like, oh, thank you for reading that. Just reference something like that. I give you an example, like one of my clients Larry was like really new to LinkedIn, and she's only got like 40 odd connections now. And she didn't really have any content because she's new to business, and she's in the messy stage of what do I do? What am I doing? So I was telling her, okay, connect to people, DM, and she reached out to an author that she really admires, and she's read their book. And she was super specific when she reached out, and and she said, I love you, I'm reading your book. So they connected, and then she got specific and said, I loved what you said, for example, on page 39, paragraph 5. And she was super specific that they were blown away, and they were getting on a Zoom with her the next day. So it's kind of just follow that formula. I was just like, well done, Larry. Just make people feel special and make them feel like seen and heard, because most people won't take the time to do that. Don't just send generic connection requests or generic messages, because people are all busy. So you really have to think what's in it for them, always with the message, what's in it for them, not what's in it for me, what am I trying to flog to them. You really have to think about how you can help them. And you'll know with conversations, in real life, you wouldn't just suddenly be throwing your business card at people and saying, book with me. You have to have that chit chat first. You have to get
or even sharing freebies. What I don't like, I don't know a person, later on I receive a message, here's my freebie.
Yeah.
Sign up.
Exactly. And I think, and the freebie could be something amazing, but they could ask that in a different way. They could say, hey, Ella, I'm not sure if you're interested, but I've just created XYZ. Let me know if you fancy a copy. And I think if you do that and ask for permission, you'll get a far better response. Even if they get one person out of 10 saying, yeah, that person could turn into a lead or a client, whereas just throwing at someone and giving it just doesn't work anymore. I think it worked maybe 5 years ago. People responded to it. But now we're like, we don't have time. I don't want your freebie. I've got enough freebies.
There's too much freebie. Like everyone is like throwing at you. Take my freebie, take my freebie. And later on your inbox, it's exploding.
Yeah. And I think you have to position it as something really sexy and sexy for them. So if you're talking about it, like if I was giving a freebie to you, it would be like, Ella, I've just been working on my on an ebook about how to attract more clients on LinkedIn as a Squarespace web designer. Then you might be like, okay, I'm interested, so I think if you can tailor it and make it sexy to that person, you will get like at least 50% saying, yeah, let me see that. So I think a lot of people, they just have the wrong approach, and they're calling their freebie something boring, and they're not really building that relationship. Whereas if they reframed it, they would get a much higher acceptance and people going, yeah, actually, I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, great tip. Jen, because I'm mindful of the time, but I'm curious because I'm learning LinkedIn myself. I'm very new to LinkedIn. So what is a quick tactical question? What is the difference between article and post?
So article is more long form. You've got way more characters, and it's just more kind of elevated content, I would say, and at the moment, just to confuse you even more, you've got articles and newsletters. So article and newsletter are the exact same thing. They just have a different name. And the difference is anyone can do an article. And when you post an article, you're relying on the algorithm. You don't know who's going to see it. But if you create a newsletter, the first time you post it, absolutely everyone you're connected to in your first degree network gets notified. So then you can get subscribers. So a newsletter is way better than an article, because you can get that visibility and people sign up for it. So then every time you post one, they kind of get that nudge. Whereas when you do an article, you don't get much reach at all. So if you wanted to get newsletter access quicker, you have to stick on content creator mode on your profile. And that just gives you access. The annoying thing about LinkedIn is that they don't tell you a lot of the time when you have a new feature. You just find out by accident. So the only way you'll find out is if that you have newsletter access is if you try and create an article. So on the home feed and you click on, you know, article, you'll see when you go into the back end, it says article and newsletter. I can create one. So they don't really ever like message us, give you a notification that you've got the feature. But yeah, article post is more like short form content, short and snappy, you know, whereas an article is more like thought leadership, longer. The good thing about it, the article or the newsletter, is that you get a separate, you know, URL for it, and it can be found on Google and in search. So I definitely think if you've got something to say, like having a newsletter or an article, if you don't have.
So for example, I have a blog on my website. So can I, for example, share my blog as a newsletter?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would just, you know, you can pretty much do it word for word as well. You're not penalized that much really when it comes to LinkedIn, because I think Google ranks LinkedIn really high. So I would just at the end of it do a little bio, and you can say this post first appeared on, and then link to your website, you know, and just do a little bio. But yeah, absolutely, if you're already doing them, it's a smart move to put them on LinkedIn, because you'll just, you know,
I'm just wondering if Google won't penalize that there is the same contents in different places.
Yeah, as far as I know, it doesn't, you know. Give it a try, but I've never experienced that it does, you know, because
give it a try, and later on I will be blocked here and there.
Yeah, no, I've never experienced it, and I don't think any other LinkedIn trainers have either. I think Google just ranks LinkedIn really highly. So
I noticed.
If you want, you could switch up the heading, you know, and keep the bulk of the text the same. But I think once you link back and reference it to your website, it seems to work okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. It was a great tip. Okay, so the last thing, if somebody got interested and want to start with linking, what should be the first steps?
Profile, definitely. Before you rush to connecting with people or creating content or anything like that, dig deep and really build out your profile and think, who are you trying to attract? What are your services? How can you position them? And just optimize your profile as much as you can from top to bottom. Fill out as many sections as you can, so you give yourself more opportunity to be found in search. You know, fill out sections like the skills section. You've got 50 skills in there. Make sure you've got the right keywords. Make sure you've got social proof on your profile. Have like up-to-date recommendations, because we all need that social proof when we're connecting with people online now. Have a good banner, a good branded banner. That's the first thing people will see. Make sure it's on brand and it's clear what you do and who you help. Have a good headline. You know, you've got 220 characters in that section, and make sure you're showcasing who you are, who you help, and how you help them. What is the transformation that you offer, instead of just putting up like founder or CEO. You know, it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah. And it's saying nothing, to be honest, founder or
Exactly. And I think have a good headshot as well. And the power of a good professional headshot. I remember the day when I switched from, you know, just a cropped out picture of, you know, personal picture that I had at home, and then I switched to a professional headshot, and the way people treated me instantly changed, and the connections were accepted so much quicker, and the conversations were so much better. So investing in your branding, like the visual part, and then investing in filling it out, the copy part, and just digging deep, because a lot of people are like, oh, LinkedIn doesn't work. And then I look at their profile and I'm like, well, your profile's rubbish. So I'm not surprised it doesn't work, because you've not filled it out, or you've got like no banner, a terrible headshot, really bad headline.
Terrible website.
Exactly. And it's like you're trying to attract premium clients and you're not showing up as premium. So I'm a big believer in treating your profile the same as your website. So have, you know, yes, you can create a banner on Canva, but it's far more impactful if you get a graphic designer to do it. It's just going to look so much better. I would not design something on Canva myself and stick it up on my website. So I would have that same approach on LinkedIn. And again, you know, professional headshot makes such a difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, just treating your profile like your website and realizing that they're buddies. They work together.
Exactly. Jen, would you like to say something else that we haven't talked about? Because I want to wrap up because it's
I think we've covered really everything. Just
yeah.
if people are feeling a bit scared or blocked about LinkedIn, just realize there's just great opportunities on there. It's such a great platform if you're an introvert and you're listening, because you can position yourself how you want and get your voice in the room. There are just over 930 million members now. LinkedIn, like, they share their quarterly results and they've just shared them. So we're going to hit 1 billion either by the end of 2023 or, you know, the start of 2024. So LinkedIn is not going away,
Yeah.
and it's #1 personal branding platform in the world. So it's like such a missed opportunity, and your clients are on there. They are all, because so many people are like, are they on there? And I'm like, they
Yeah.
are on there. It's just about
It
you.
was me. I wasn't sure
Exactly.
if my clients are there.
Exactly. It's just a case of attracting them and finding them, and thinking bigger as well. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not sure if they're there, but I'm like, well, there are people on there who will give you access, who have an audience of your ideal clients. So for example, you know, you could get a Pilates teacher or a yoga teacher or a photographer, and they might think, oh, well, my specific client is not on here. And I'm like, well, connect with an event manager who is running an event. It could be a wedding fair, and then a makeup artist gets exposure to thousands of people, or a hairdresser gets exposure, or a well-being event, and the Pilates teacher or the yoga teacher does a class, and you know, maybe it's an online event and it reaches 10,000 people around the world. So I'm like, think bigger, because everyone is on there. And if you really think your immediate's not on there, people who have access to them are on there. So yeah, it's just a case of finding them and attracting them. And I can safely say absolutely everybody's on there.
So good. Okay, Jen, where to find you? If somebody would like to connect with you, where to find you? And you also have some freebie for us.
Sure. So you can find me on my website. So it's www.mysuperconnector.co.uk, and you'll see my LinkedIn link at the very top of my YouTube link. I have a freebie. It's a 64 kind of point document about how to build your profile. So it's about how to create a good skeleton. So you're showing up. I'm not going to say it's got everything in there. It doesn't, but it will really help you to start to build out your profile so you can attract your ideal clients. So I think Ella's probably going to have the link below.
Yes, I will put the links in the descriptions, in the description down there.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, download this checklist, because I downloaded myself and it's very good. So don't miss it out. Download it. Okay, Jennifer, thank you so much for your time and for all your good tips, amazing tips. Yeah, and I will talk to you soon. And to all, thank you very much for listening, watching. And this is Ella Shumlas, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.